Prime Minister Mark Carney is calling for 3 federal by-elections on August the 31st. So voters in British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec will be heading back to the polls. Elections are going to be held in the following ridings. In BC, the North Vancouver-Capilano riding. In Ontario, the riding of Beaches East York. And in Quebec, Chicoutimi-Le Fjord. Jamie Gillies is a political scientist at St. Thomas University, and he joins us now to break down the significance of these by-elections. Jamie, good to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Natasha. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So, Jamie, I do want to get into the specifics of each of those 3 ridings, but let's begin with an overall assessment of how significant these by-elections would be for the Carney government.
Well, they need to win at least one on August 31st to maintain that majority status that they worked so hard over the last year and a half to get with these floor crossings and negotiations with individual MPs to get to that majority status. So they do need to hold one of these. And in all likelihood, Beaches East York is probably the one that they will probably face the least amount of competition, given that it is a pretty liberal stronghold in the Toronto area.
And that one was vacated by Nathan Erskine Smith. So we know that that one, as you mentioned, very likely will go Liberal. So let's talk about the other ones in BC and in Quebec. Why are those ridings now vacant, or those seats now vacant, and who are the candidates we should be watching for there?
Well, Jonathan Wilkinson was a cabinet minister in the Carney government, and he's now taken up a position as an ambassador. And Richard Martel, who's a conservative MP, four election wins in a row for him, has now been appointed to the Senate. So those opened up those 2 ridings. And in North Vancouver-Capilano, although the suburbs of Vancouver can be sort of can swing between different parties, that's also a fairly strong chance for the Liberals to maintain and hold that riding in North Vancouver-Capilano, given that Wilkinson won comfortably in the last couple of elections. The real test in these by-elections in August, though, is the Chicoutimi-Le Fjord riding, because that one is one of the closest ridings in the country over the last few elections. It's elected all 4 major parties over the last couple of decades, and it was a 3-way race in the last couple, and it probably will be again this time around.
Okay, so if you want excitement, that's the one to watch.
Absolutely. That's the one, because there's a lot at stake for all 3 parties there. If the Liberals could pick that one up, a former conservative riding, that gives them a little more cushion going into the fall setting in 2026, and perhaps helps that majority status that they want to maintain to pass key legislation coming up in 2027. For the Conservatives, they need to hold that if they're still projected potentially as a government in waiting. Poilievre needs to hold that. It's one of those ones that has been a consistent conservative riding for the last couple of elections. And for the Bloc, this is an opportunity for a pickup where it used to be a Bloc riding. And if they want to sort of go into the next election with a better position, that's the one they also want to pick up.
Jamie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like the last time around when we had a series of by-elections, the Carney government was still very much in its honeymoon phase. There was a huge elbows up movement. It seemed that the entire country, including the provincial governments, were on the same page in terms of moving forward in a specific direction. Right now, with CUSMA not being settled, more tariff threats coming from the United States, and the Gordie Howe Bridge and how the Prime Minister sort of handled the communications around that, is there potentially more at stake or at risk for the Prime Minister?
I think more than there was 6 to 8 months ago. The challenge is the mercurial nature of the Trump administration. Is Trump and the trade negotiations going to focus negatively on Canada? We have a new set of tariffs potentially to deal with. And so that could be an issue that might nationalize these three by-elections where a number of the other parties like the NDP and the Conservatives can start focusing on that of the fact that we're not getting the results we wanted with a Carney government with respect to trade. However, Carney's still popular. The Liberals still have a national polling advantage across the country. And I think, though, that it's the Chicoutimi by-election really that we're going to see if there's some movement here. If the incumbent government and voters in Chicoutimi want to give them another chance and a stronger mandate, maybe the Liberal candidate will win there. For Poilievre, though, if he loses this, and it's hard to sort of predict what will happen, it's another concern going forward, given the number of MPs who've crossed the floor already. And Richard Martel, losing him and then potentially the riding could be a real challenge for Poilievre going forward.